Hi everyone. I thought I would provide feedback through a video for Module 2, case study number 3, and then case study number 4 will be in a different video. Now in Module 2, we looked at employment law. We know that there are over 300 different employment laws that affect the place of business. It's up to you as an HR professional to know all of those laws. Now you don't have to know all of them verbatim, but you do know that they have to exist. So let's go ahead and look at the assignment, the requirement here. All right, first things first, it provided some background information. You may recall in Module 1, you were to create a handbook. Well, you didn't create a handbook per se, you created what I like to call a punch list of things that should be in the handbook. It gave you some background information, the size of the organization, for instance, different things about grievances. All right, so using that information, those hints, all right, you were to do two things. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first thing you were to do. First, list the laws that should be included in your employee handbook based on the size of your organization, 20 or more, and then write a brief explanation of each. So really all you had to do was just list a handful of laws and then define them. So what I was looking for, let me go ahead and show you what I was looking for. Now, if your list does not have everything that mine has, that's okay. As long as it's close, I will give you full credit. However, it has to be close. If you're missing one or two, not a problem. But if you're missing about half of these, then then that's why you got some points taken off. All right, so regardless of the size of the organization, there are certain laws that apply, and they include these in bold. First of all, the Equal Pay Act, Immigration Reform and Control Act, Fair Labor Standards Act, Occupational Safety and Health Act, ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act, Uniform Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, and last, Jury Systems Improvement Act. So hopefully your list has some of those on there. Some of you might have forgotten the Jury Systems Improvement Act. That's okay, but know that Jury Systems Improvement Act does apply regardless of the size of organization. Now, once you move to 15 or more employees, the EEOC laws all of a sudden kick in. So they typically all kick in at 15 or more. That's Title VII. We're talking about, the American with Disabilities Act, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. They all kick in at 15 or more. So these should also be on your list because they do apply to your organization since it's 20 or more. All right, last, we have age discrimination and COBRA. These apply to businesses that have 20 or more employees. All right, so there you have it. There's the list. Now, some of you might be thinking about FMLA or other types of different laws, and they don't actually affect this organization. And so if you put FMLA on there, I don't want to mark it wrong, but it doesn't apply. I just want to make sure that it's very clear that FMLA only kicks in with 50 or more employees. Now, as an organization, if a company who has less than 50 employees wants to make sure that they're compliant with FMLA in the chance that they grow past 50 or more employees, they certainly can follow those rules and regulations. There's nothing preventing them. I actually have a good friend who has about 35 employees right now, and they're looking to expand their business. And so what she has done is she has incorporated FMLA into her organization. That way, when they hit that 50 mark, she doesn't have to worry about changing any of her policies, making sure she's compliant. Everything's already in place. So she's allowed to incorporate FMLA. It's just not required until she hits 50. I hope that makes sense. So here is your list. And then next to each act, I would hope that you had a brief description of that act. Now, again, if you're missing a couple points, that could be why if you only have a few of these laws and or didn't provide a brief explanation of each. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. Provide a detailed plan on how you will accomplish creating the handbook. And it's basically ensuring how you're going to make sure these laws are covering recruitment, selection, compensation, training, and development. Basically a employment act within the organization. So anytime you recruit, there are certain laws that apply. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So you could have done this a number of different ways. You could either go through law by law and determine how you're going to incorporate that in your handbook. Or you could do the opposite. You could say, well, recruitment, and then talk about recruitment and how the laws or the policies in the handbook will apply to recruitment. And when I look at this list right here, I see a couple different things that can apply to my recruitment. Now, Equal Pay Act, it could fall under compensation. It could also fall under recruitment, absolutely. So it's kind of a gray area. It could fall under both, that's fine. Immigration Reform Act, Fair Standards Labor Act. These are all things that can fall under recruitment, and so you need to have these policies in place when recruiting to make sure that they are legal activities, if you will, especially when it comes to the ADA, the EEOC type regulations. Very important that you have that. All right, same thing with selection, compensation, training. Anytime you have some sort of employment activity, these laws are behind the scenes, making sure that hopefully you have policies in place, making sure that you aren't violating any laws. All right. In addition to that, after you explain what laws and how you're going to incorporate them in the handbook, I'm hoping that you provided protocols. This is extremely important. Provide protocols for grievances. This is actually required by the EEOC. So you have to have certain protocols in place, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to have a grievance procedure in place. And that's 15 or more employees, because we know all those EEOC laws kick in. All right. I hope you didn't write the handbook, but I hope you explained what's going in the handbook and how you're going to incorporate these laws into your practices. Right, if you have any other questions, please reach out. We'll move on to case study number 4 here shortly. Thank you so much.